either one of you guys trying to speak.
It's a little tricky.
Or anybody.
Top versus
I know what.
just like a-
And, no, I just needed you to sign in if you were done, so.
But yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
do you want me to read Rebecca?
It took me a minute what you said.
A poem, perhaps,
Yeah.
a rap,
Just drag
looks like as well.
Okay. To kind of crop.
I think that's what it was, but it was.
Greg, I hate to interrupt, but
Oh, yeah.
sorry. But all right, I'm gonna call the meeting to order at 5:36. Lisa Gonzalez present.
Kelly Hunt present.
Suzanne Christie.
Lori Lindsay present. Miranda Whitney present.
No,
My Lisa is on the phone present. Right, Millie?
I'm here.
no.
And Tiana, Jessica, and Ryan are not able to make it today. Susan, will you read the mission of vision?
Yes. Discovery Charter School, our vision is an inclusive community that nurtures how to think, not what to think, one child at a time. Our mission, Discovery Charter School will focus on its students' passion and curiosity necessary for lifelong learning. Students will develop the ability to think critically, communicate effectively, and excel academically. Through an integrated place-based education, our students will become stewards of their environment and community.
Information, I don't have anything this month, so we will go right into our page.
Okay. First document, balance sheet. Main thing, cash increase, that's largely due to the receipt of ERTC. That's one of 4 that we're about to receive. This one was $350, less a fee that hasn't been recorded yet, which is 15% to capital preservation for doing that for us and protecting it. We have some capital expenditures, the lighting outside from,
That was.
Profit loss. This month, without ERTC, we would have been at about $20,000 deficit for the month, but year to date, we're up without ERTC about 120. So we're in a good position this year, and we're going to end on a good surplus.
Because of the ERTC.
No, in general, we would have without ERTC. ERTC just really helped, and then we're gonna receive 2 out of the 4 next fiscal year. So this fiscal year, the 2 receipts and the 2 payments are gonna hit, and we'll be in a very good position with the P&L and cash flow. And then we discussed making a capital fund to reserve those funds and put it towards expansion and whatever we need to. So that's what's gonna come out of that going forward. Overall, we're higher in revenue without ERTC because we increased the ADM. So basic grant, charter innovation, both went up. Anything that we're over in is just the expenditure-wise, it's just the standard things we've been over in, and those are also due to the increase in ADM. More staffing, more supplies, etc.
How much did inflation affect?
Well, I mean, that
Gotta be
too,
part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Quantify that a little bit.
Oh,
Yeah, especially supplies and.
Yeah, food,
and stuff like that.
although we contract for that.
That's serious, that's also a lot higher than anticipated, but I think that's also gonna stay.
Yeah,
Serious
we're not gonna
going
go
forward.
up.
It's always, I feel like we never come out ahead of them.
Yeah. Which overall, I think we actually are, but that's just because the federal reimbursement increased. A couple things to note going forward, the way that we are going to receive, so we received the textbook reimbursement in May. It came out to $15,000 this year. Going forward, that's going to increase, but we're no longer allowed to collect textbook fees. So we'll see how that plays out. I think we're just keeping the budget similar without the fees for now to see how that goes.
So the textbook reimbursement we got, is that from,
State.
but from like low and reduced
Yes.
lunch stuff?
That's it, and then I don't know if you wanted to, if I uploaded the updated budget with the updated payroll, at least draft-wise. It's still a working document, we're still gonna need information on insurance, et cetera, but overall, that's also in a good position for next year. And then we'll see how those things change it before we finalize the budget before the start of the school year, or at least in the first month of the school year.
Since break even.
It's another key position. When ERTC is not factored into that.
So the receipt of the, two of the four ERTC payments, we have 350 and 255, both of which include like 20,000 interest, by the way. And so those will be in our revenue. I think guarantees is a very gaudy year, so that goes right to the income statement, right? And so, yeah, our that, we always knew when that hit the surplus, which we would have a surplus anyway, even without that, which was good. That's what the important thing is. With it,
We still have to pay to that company, right?
yeah, so we paid 48,000 of the 355. That's not in the financial show. We did it in June. But by the end of June, we will have paid the commission of 15% on each of the 2 installments that we received. And as Kiki said, we haven't included this in the budget anyway. Because as Suzanne will update us on the finance committee, we're angling for a suggestion of making this a capital reserve for capital projects and not operating subsidies, right? We have to, this is money from heaven, this is a gift, and we have to make maximum use of it. So it was a very successful year. Again, due to government COVID program. Cool.
Government wants to move.
So you don't want us to approve it today,
What?
The
the
budget,
budget,
I prefer to do it at next meeting.
and July meeting?
Hopefully we'll have to finalize numbers by then. It's always kind of a working document, so everything is solidified, but I think we'll have a better idea at least by then.
Yeah, it's always
Yeah,
pending fall count anyways.
yeah, that too. And that'll change it again, and I can just update it once the count hits too, but I think we can approve. Do we usually approve it before the
It
policy?
needs to be
and
approved
then-
at some point.
Yeah, I feel like we usually do it at this meeting, because then,
Well, we can do it at this meeting, it will change.
I mean, but it's not anything, like, it's insurance stuff, it's not anything that we can control anyway, right?
It's insurance and EDM. Insurance will have before the actual count, but no, it's nothing we can control.
Yeah, it's always pending, because once you have your ADM number,
Sure.
then it burns up exactly what you're getting from the state, so.
So yeah, we approve.
There's no questions on the payables, and I'll strictly with.
Okay. Well, we'll just do the consent agenda,
Oh,
but do we want to approve the budget, or do we
Sure.
want to?
make a motion to approve the budget pending the changes that Kiki and Alan have talked about.
No second. All in favor? Anyone opposed? All right, so the budget for the 23-24 school year is approved. Anything else for financials?
No, I'm not you guys want me.
Yes, thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Any discussion over the consent agenda items? So I'll move to, approve the consent agenda.
Well, second.
All in favor? All right, consent agenda approved. There was no public comment. Strategic planning, we will start on that in August again, is what I'm thinking. So somewhere around before the August meeting, we will do maybe then a Saturday, just to kind of get that finalized and going. That works for everybody, so maybe shoot me, or maybe it's even after our August meeting, shoot me a couple of dates that will work, on a Friday night or Saturday morning, and we'll figure that out. The annual report, did you guys have a chance to look at it? Anything we want to add to it?
No, it was nice.
There was a couple of financial things I wanted to put in there. our, like where we end the year at. So we'll wait until the June 30th numbers and put that in there, and then kind of where we started the year at and what we anticipated ending the year at, just to kind of put that out there. But other than that,
So when will that go out?
in July. so as soon
To
as
all
we get those
family and
numbers,
stakeholders?
Yeah, we can send it out via, family email. Sound okay?
And then Alan, so I think the financial piece, we're also waiting on two, like, total salary categories, right?
No, Kiki got me that.
Kiki got you that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just have to, I haven't added it to it, but she did get me that. All right, executive director and assistant executive director onboarding is going well. Vera's been here a couple of days. They'll start officially on July 1. Their contracts need to be signed by my lease, and then Miranda, I have them, I don't have one with me, so you can sign them. And then my lease needs to sign them, and then I'll get them to you guys can sign them, and we'll be official. More official. Let's see, Ernesto and Brad met today and went over a whole bunch of all the important stuff, the keys to the kingdom. And they will meet again Friday and do payroll and miscellaneous stuff, and then Ernesto will be done Friday, but available if needed. But So that's that. Board self-assessment, we will resume talking about that again in August. And then to the culture of care policy. We talked about it last meeting, but did we want to change anything for the handbook part of it? Because we haven't, I know you guys were gonna be sending it to, staff when they come back, right?
Well, you shared it with the,
Policy and the committee, and they all looked at it and didn't have any changes.
Okay. So do we want to,
Were you asking?
the culture of care, are we good like with how it is, or do we wanna change anything? I feel like some of it was kind of outdated. Just because it's gonna be in the handbook.
Right, so this is when we're talking about the party things. And- Because there was one thing, that the snack policy, where it didn't refer to any of the culture of care type things. And so this is where it comes back.
Like the enforcement is kind of where we left off, like is how are we going to be enforcing that the snacks are.
Right.
Are you saying you're going to add more language to it?
No, I think that it was kind of like, that was why it was going to the committee.
Oh, gotcha, and they reviewed it.
Yeah, was to make sure that it was gonna be enforceable if we were putting it in the handbook.
Okay.
But I think like that's an admin thing too, right? Like,
And we can review it again.
yeah, I mean, it was the end of the year too,
Yeah,
so
we can do that again.
there may be a benefit in revisiting it in the fall.
okay, so,
Well, I definitely think if we have a policy about the enforcement has to follow through. However that works.
It's hard, but it's a big part of who we are.
Yeah.
it can be amended. So maybe you guys look at it, I know you guys won't meet with policy, like the committee before then, but just to make sure and well, we'll talk about the student handbook, I guess, in a minute. All right, we'll just leave that for now. The professional standards policy, do you wanna talk a little bit about that, since it came forward from, like, what you were thinking about adding?
Oh, professional standards. Just some language around, how we treat one another, staff, that kind of thing. looking at, just relationships and how that will look. Just putting some professional standards in place in writing, so everybody's clear of what that really looks like on both ends, right? From administrative, from student, from teachers, and then how teachers interact with parents and different things like that, just making sure we have some clear cut lines that we are not, trying to make less gray, make everything a little bit more black and white, so it won't be up for interpretation and we won't have, any misleading kind of things or what have you. So just looking at those kind of things as well as, not only relationships, but just like with technology, how we use that in the classroom, Facebook, all of that kind of thing, anything that's going to touch with communications and so forth and so on, and what that looks like. I did give, from my school district, I gave a copy of like what we were looking at. May not need to be that detailed and all of that, because I'm dealing with high schoolers and everything like that. But, the whole point was just to kind of put some parameters around it, and just to start having a conversation, so everybody's clear on the same page.
So that's the code of conduct, that was put the last page of the employee handbook. And that's kind of, Ernesto took the policy from, her school and made it more discovery. I know Greg had a chance to look at it and he was good with it. Did you guys have any changes? Are you good with it how it is?
I think it's a good first step,
It's good to have just some parameters,
So that will be the first read. You can't technically vote on it today because this is the first time we're presenting it, but I think it could go in the handbook. It's fine. And then we'll vote on it. All right, the ERTC money, do you want to talk about that from the finance committee?
Sure. Our group met a couple weeks ago, and we talked about different ways to use this windfall, as we're calling it, the gift from heaven. And we were clear that we wanted to pragmatically look at it, how do we spend it, and what's gonna make the most sense and be sustainable. As Alan said, using it for operations would then create a bigger budget, and at some point the money ends. And we then don't wanna have to reel things back at that point. That doesn't mean there may not be some allocation to, we really need a specific job or a new staff. What?
We were talking about HVAC payment.
Yeah, I mean, as part of the operating, though, we would be able to consider certain items, but also that they would have to be sustainable. So therefore, that's going to be a discussion that would have to work with the long-term projection of where the money's gonna be used. But our major categories of thinking are the capital development part, looking at how do we prepare for the debt and the bond debt that's coming out, or that will be due, excuse me. What do we need around mostly building purposes? Do we need more space? Do we need parking lots? Do we need, what do we need and what will it cost? And just doing a forecast and how we're gonna spend that money for things that are lasting and sustainable. So we're gonna have another meeting to get started on more specifics around that.
Awesome. So will that be different than our capital fund that we have now?
Well, capital, you could look at, I mean, it's a word that means.
Or development fund, I guess?
Well, do we want to have, is there a need for fundraising, development, and towards what and how much? None of that is quantified. Capital also means buying fixed goods, so is that a new building? So they're different, technically, they're all capital-ish, because they're not expenses ongoing.
Well, I think like the fund that you have now, like, is it gonna be a separate fund? So we have the development
Yes.
fund now, right? It's gonna be separate from that?
I would say so.
I would say so too. I'd say, as I should have before, that we're now going to segregate at least the two ERTC payments that we have with the CD, starting by Friday. Okay,
Okay.
because we're going to put that aside and call it capital phone
Yeah, I
in
forgot
a
about that.
stretch for some safe yield, probably 4%. So
Yeah.
we're going to do that hopefully this week. And I think we'll keep it separate from the development fund.
I think it should be.
Because in the future, maybe a debt retirement function or something like
Mhm.
that, a drive for debt retirement, which could be the development.
I think as the plan is developed and if there's any earmarked for more development / fundraising development, we can transfer it to that. But we want to make sure that was a calculated and thought out
Right.
process.
Right.
How long are the CDs?
We haven't done it
Haven't
yet.
done it yet?
Yeah, so I don't know what, I don't know, we'll talk about it, let's
Okay.
see how long we decide.
Yeah.
I'd say a year, okay?
Well, yeah, depending on the
At
rate.
least-
Certainly,
I've seen a
we
lot of
should,
10-month ones for like.
Yeah.
4%.
well, you can ladder them
Yeah.
so that, they
So
come
Tira's a
due in
7-month for
stages.
4.75.
What's that? I'm sorry?
I said Centura is a 7-month for 4.75.
Whoa.
That might be a winner.
I may or may not,
Short
Merrill
term,
Lynch
close
has higher
one.
ones, online,
Is that right?
oh yeah, online banks have much higher rates.
Yeah.
Depends though, do you wanna keep it in local, or, you know, there's all those aspects depending on who you are, whether that makes a difference, but,
Who's gonna make us the most money?
And-
We'll do
and
some
maybe
research.
lend us money down the road.
But my idea too is that, you know, let's say we get 1 million total, I don't know the exact number, it's probably more.
It's a little bit short, after net of the fees.
Okay, so around that, if you can split it up to mature at different times, you know, are we gonna go on year basis, or we're gonna go on 18-month basis, but if you take them out in 6 months increments, and then they retire 6 months apart, or a year apart, something like that, you can keep your liquidity, there,
So
as opposed to having it all tied up for the same amount of time.
do we think rates are gonna stay where they're at? So like, let's say we did a
The rates
shorter
are
term.
predicted to go up another 2 times.
So
That's a,
if we do like shorter term, then we can roll them into higher rates
Correct.
than in 6 months or 10 months or whatever.
what I've done in the past in different situations is recommended right at the beginning, maybe start 6 month, 12 month, 18 month, 2 years. And then, so 6 months, one retires, then maybe you could take advantage of the higher rate, but you're still locked in at the higher rate. Because if it goes down, you know, so, yeah,
Good.
just one
Thinking of
option.
what that-
Mhm.
So do you need anything from us with the bonds? Do you need us to?
Unless we need to approve, I think
With
we
the
might.
CD?
the
I mean, the
CD
CD.
No, I don't think so.
I don't think
No.
so.
You have any questions? All right, the staff handbook. So. Did you guys want to talk about that?
So we made some changes first go around, after I first sent it out. And then Greg went through and looked over some things, and so what we sent today was the most current version that accounted for all changes that were sent to us, and also with the thoughts that Greg had. The online version, because it's online version of Word 365, apparently doesn't show the highlights. I don't know if it shows, I don't know if it shows the strike through, do you have to do something different?
But not on your phone.
Ah, okay. So then I sent the actual Word document version too, so just that way, it would have, depending on what they were looking at. I think there was just a couple of things, like dress code was one that Greg wanted to think about and revisit. I don't know, were there any other big ones?
No, don't get page 21, vacation.
Vacation,
So it's a current conflict with losing my contract.
yeah, we had talked about, because it wasn't really clearly specified for those yearly employees, like when vacation kicks in. So, I mean, ultimately, it's up to you all, if you want to include verbiage or how you want to approach that.
I think we made them to be aligned with their year of contract. As far as, for first year, you get the first half of vacation before the first
Semester, yeah.
and then the second half you get, and then going forward, it would just be how
Right.
normal is, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's, I mean, that's fine, it's just what I saw in there, it didn't stick with me.
Yeah.
That's all.
Are you guys good with that? Just to make it consistent. For the employee.
So first year.
Yeah,
First semester. Can't go into
Right.
it's just the end.
Yeah.
14?
You said
Yeah. I'm sure. Or do they?
I don't think, you didn't make any changes to the, for like staff attire at this point, right?
No,
I think it's the
Oh,
same.
he's just
Yeah.
thinking about it?
Mhm.
He's just gonna-
No,
The
the
student one,
It was the
staff, yeah.
sorry.
the students.
no, I mean, could I?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
I just-
yeah.
I just assumed that staff had dress code as well. I mean, the students were required to wear Discovery shirts, and I just assumed that staff did as well. And I was just, it's something that, I think, I talked to a few people, I didn't talk to a lot of people. I mean, obviously, staff is not in concession, so it's something that I think we need to kind of look into. So that's kind of why, I'd like to maybe, put it out there to, I'm sure there's gonna be a mixed review of it. I'm sure some will like it, and I'm sure some won't. No different than some of the kids probably like it and some don't, but, so, I'd like to, I mean, we even thought about some ideas with incentivizing staff, like possibly, like a purchasing of, now that I met with you guys today, I have a better idea of the financials. So, even possibly buying them, a shirt for the, I guess, spring, nice weather, and then like a long sleeve or a hoodie, something like that to kind of help, offset some of their personal costs, but, I don't know, I know I'm gonna buy quite a bit of, these attire. We're gonna request the kids to, I think we should kind of model the same type of behavior, so. But again, I'm an outsider and I'm coming in to join you guys, so, yeah. Oh, I was, yeah. So, yeah, it's something that, whether it's this year or next year, I mean, I guess it really doesn't make a difference,
And it is something like if you wanted to add it like halfway through the year, like let staff have a chance to purchase what they want and
Yeah.
have, it is something that can be added halfway through the
Right.
year.
Mhm.
It's also a great idea for, marketing outside of school.
100%, I agree, so.
I've definitely heard middle schoolers call out teachers because they were this or they were, so.
All ears.
Especially the middle schoolers, they definitely will. So that was really all that I had, and it kind of dovetails, and I know we're not to the part of the agenda yet, but, like, coming in and observing, or going through the staff handbook, employee handbook, and as well as the, student handbook. I mean, using my, my own, work experiences, you gotta be very careful, like, I have to see how things are here too. So I don't wanna jump in and make a bunch of changes and then have to, after I'm here for a year or so, and then come back and change again, because as educators, we all know, I mean, there's a lot of changes in education that are beyond our control a lot of times. So, and there are definitely gonna be changes, so there, it's just how many that, are necessary. So, just wanted to kind of put that out there. So, if we could just table that possibly, and
Sounds like we're just.
What was the change for the re-earned salary adjustment? Was that something different?
Just some rewording that Kiki and I talked about, because there was some ambiguity to
Okay,
how it was written. The intent behind it and
Okay.
the process of giving the $2,000 additional salary didn't change.
Okay.
Just clarifying the verbiage.
Okay.
Anything else with the, staff handbook? I will motion to approve the staff handbook
I'll second.
with that one change. Of,
Vacation.
yeah. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, so the staff handbook is approved. Do you want to talk about the counselor sub position?
Sure. Vera and I met with, actually, the first time I met Vera. We met with Deb and Lisa, and we were talking about, I think we were talking about scheduling. And we kind of, we already knew about the posting of the counselor or social worker / social worker position. And we looked at, just looked at the master schedule, and which prompted dialogue in regards to self-contained classroom, and then which led to further discussions of caseloads, special ed caseloads, excuse me. We talked about, which prompted us to look at how IEPs were written, and we talked about ACRs, that's annual case reviews, and just, even team teaching, co-teaching, however you want to call it, that's with the general ed teacher and the special ed teacher, and how that was happening. So it was kind of a consensus at that meeting that we might look at possibly changing what the focus was from a social worker to a special ed teacher / coordinator. I did sit in on one of the interviews because they did proceed because they were already scheduled. So I think you sat in on a couple, and I sat in on one as well. And I did address everyone in the room and explained what the rationale was. We talked about it, and I'm sure some people were maybe a little upset, but not everyone's always going to like the decision. But there's some, there were some pertinent, important things that I think are possibly overlooked in that department. And I think as director, and you guys can speak for yourselves, but that's something that we have to address. It's needed. So Deb and Deb has already developed a new posting. I haven't had a chance. I'll be able to because I was in meetings all day today. So I'm gonna update that a little bit, make some changes, and then we're gonna post this position in lieu of the counselor / social worker position.
And from a board perspective, that was one thing that we went back and forth with, and we made the decision based on the knowledge that we had. But I think it was always with the intention that when a new team of admin came in, that could change. So I don't think anybody's surprised that it is being changed from a board perspective.
Yeah. I really tried to make it clear to the individuals that were, we know in education we can never have enough people, right? There's always so many different, kids and their needs are so diverse and need to be met. So we would all love that, but at some point, when you're working within a budget, we have to make what is, a lot of fiscal, the most fiscal and responsible choice. So I do believe that this is it. And, everyone seemed to agree in that meeting. Maybe they didn't when they walked out, but, that's okay. That's in the best interest of Discovery right now. So I think we could possibly revisit that in the future, but just not right now. So.
movie night, I was hoping we would do another one this year before back to school. We'll have to call and see what is available at Sunset Hill, but if 8/12, that's a Friday before teachers report back. Would that work for you guys? Or any time that week, really?
8/12 is a Saturday.
Or maybe 11th?
At the same place?
Yeah. And we'll do Frozen, since Frozen is the musical this year. Okay, so I'll see if any, I'll shoot for the 11th, but if any other day is available that week, we'll do that, or maybe the 13th even. Okay. That was all of that. So the summer planning days for staff, I just heard about them and kind of wanted just to kind of talk about that for a little bit because they're coming in to work on their curriculum, right?
There's different things that they come in to work on curriculum. They, most of them work on that curriculum for next school year.
So I'm just wondering if we need to pause that until Vera kind of comes in and is able, I just feel like it might be a waste of time if they're coming in to work on curriculum and Vera's gonna come in and adjust things a little bit, like, it might be wasting money, I don't know.
And
What are they working?
I'll have to go back and look at those, I don't have the sheets in front of me to see exactly, because they specify exactly what they're working on. So I'd have to look and see exactly, some are curriculum, some aren't. But I would have to.
I just don't know if it's, like, if they're gonna come in and come up with a curriculum and then Vera's gonna take a look at it and be like, we're actually going in this direction, I feel like that's gonna.
It's getting familiar with the standards.
Yeah.
New curriculum.
I was gonna say, it's kind of a, it's kind of a.
But that's part of what
That's-
Vera's gonna be working on, so
Yeah.
I don't know, I feel like she needs to come in before we're paying staff to come in and just make staff frustrated because they spend time working on it, and then it's gonna be different. Cause I do feel like it's gonna be different.
Are there any next week?
I
don't
honestly
know.
don't, I will look when I go back now.
I mean, if there are, I can do some finagling of my time to make sure I'm here on those days, I just have to know what those are. Because if they plan those days, I want them to be able to, I don't want to change all their days around because of vacation, so I'd rather finagle my time around to meet with them.
Are you
But I
gonna have, do
really-
you guys have like a solid enough plan though to like be able to?
I feel like we do.
Yeah, we talked about it.
Yeah.
We're kind of both on the same page, so.
Okay, as long
I
as,
mean, it really just comes down to having a sound, basis of what it is we want our kids to know and be able to do at each grade level. And until we have that solidified, we can't go any farther. So that would be our very first step in doing that, and we seem to all be on the same page. There aren't too many teachers I've ever run into that don't go, oh, wow, thanks. I know what I'm supposed to teach now, you know, so I don't think it's gonna be an issue, but I would like it to be,
But I will look at
With
those,
mine.
and if there's any like red flags that it's a kind of a waste of their time too, then I'll reach out to them.
yeah, I just think like if they're coming in dealing with curriculum, then Vera should be involved in that, since that's gonna be the direction of, I don't wanna waste our money, waste their time.
Makes sense, no, it makes a lot, makes sense, definitely does. And it's, yeah, for sure.
So you guys will talk about that next week.
Yeah,
yeah. The nicotine-free campus policy, we all looked at that last, meeting and discussed it. We just need to approve it. Nobody had any concerns?
I'll make a motion to approve.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, so the nicotine-free campus policy was passed. Budget, we already did. Outdoor signage.
Yeah, so if you had a chance to read the board report, the contact we had at Landmark is no longer there. So now there's a new person at Landmark who's kind of overseeing the project. And then also, there's still kind of a lot of questions in general with the project, because it appears that at some point power was run to both of the monument signs, so those big ground ones, right there in the corner of the outdoor classroom, the one on Tremont and Canoni. But there's no real way of knowing if they actually have power. We've checked the breakers, and nothing is suggesting that there's a breaker tied to either of those signs. Which I guess isn't too surprising, because they redid all of that when they converted the building to be Discovery in 2010. So there could be power there. There's no real way of knowing until they get in there. So the real question is the sign, so those two will get new boxes, because the one thing that is probably pretty clear is they need to be raised a little bit. Because with the growth on both the ground and both spots, it makes it easier visibly, right, to see. The two post signs are easy, because those are just standard signs. The ones here, they are gonna replace with metal poles, because those wooden ones have just been warped over the years. The one on 20 and Tremont is already metal, so they don't have to replace the post, just the sign itself. Joe said he would work with PAC, because those bushes have grown around those posts also. So those bushes there have to be removed if we want the sign in the same spot. So max price right now would be 22 grand or whatever it said, and that would be setting up both monument signs to be illuminated with LEDs. But again, they may not actually have power to be illuminated, and so it's kind of a gamble. And if at the last minute they have to change it, it's really only a savings of about $1,200, $1,000 on each of those signs, so it's still around 20 grand. So my suggestion, my recommendation, my thoughts would be that maybe we discuss whether the electricity part of it is really important, and maybe Greg meets with the new rep that's taking over, and then gets a better handle on what that is, and then can decide if you want to explore another option just for comparative quotes. We worked with Landmark before. I mean, they're very responsive, but it is a higher, I mean, it's an expense.
Is it possible about solar or something like that?
Solar
Like
lights.
solar?
Well, and so what we've put out there for the last couple of years, and they probably need replaced at this point, are just some of those solar yard lights, and it works pretty well. I mean, on one hand, I get it, yes, it would be great to have them illuminated, but there's not a lot of random traffic down there, right? The traffic are people who are already coming here, or people who live on that road, or live in the area that need to travel that road, right? It's not a highly visible traffic location, right?
I think it was a good thought if it would have been easy, but I don't think it's worth like the headache of trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
I think the solar lights, they work fine.
Yeah, and so if electricity needed to be done, I mean, then we would have to hire someone else to do it, because they won't do it. And then, there's another expense
Yeah.
to just even investigate it really, because they can only go, so far on their end.
Let's just do the signs and then get them in and done.
Like a reflective paint.
So Greg, I'll plan on sharing the original quotes and the drawings with you, and then I'll email and introduce you to the new guy. And I think it's probably best then that you meet him before proceeding with anything. Or like I said, if you decide that you want to get another quote or.
We do need board approval though to do them.
Yeah, so it'll have to come back to the board for approval just because of the cost.
Well, I feel we can approve the amount for Landmark, and then if you decide, it's hard to find a company though, because we were looking for the sign that we put in last year, that's the only company that would come out and do it, so, I don't know.
What are we
Could you
gonna
just
do
say like
to
a
do, not
box?
the electric?
They're gonna replace the signs.
The signs.
They're in the,
Oh,
yeah.
So it's all the signs.
can we get quotes for it?
We got one from
That's just
Landmark.
what
Well,
we started
when we had the Discovery added to the top of the school,
Transition.
we tried to get quotes from multiple places, and it was like a 4-month period, and the only ones that would come out were Landmark.
But we've got it.
Or they like would come out, but then never send us a quote, or, yeah. Right, it's not that big of a, it's a lot of money, but it's not to them.
Right.
So I would motion to approve the signs from Landmark for the quote without the, lighting. And then if you wanna try to get another quote, you can, as long as it's not more than, but if you don't, I think that, I mean, I don't think that's a crazy price for the signs.
And that's for 5?
4 signs.
4.
Yeah, 2 of the ground monument signs, as they call them, and then the 2 on posts.
Gotcha.
I think we need a second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
And then the math curriculum.
Did you want me to take that, Deb, or do you
Oh,
want?
sure. No, you go right ahead.
Okay, Deb and I started talking about the math curriculum a little bit, and originally the math committee had settled on Envision. I spoke with, that group of teachers, this week, Deb and I did, and Greg, and I kind of gave them an overview of what iReady can do for them, and the pieces that come with it, not only the diagnostic that would come with it, so that they wouldn't have to use STAR, they would use the diagnostic with iReady, along with individualized student pathways that the kids would have based upon the diagnostic score. And then they do growth scores every about 3 weeks, and it updates the individual pathway. It flags the kids if they miss, I believe it's 3 tries on an assessment and they miss it. It flags to the teacher to tell them the student needs some intervention on this particular item before you allow them to head back into their pathway. And then what happens is all of those pieces go directly into the Ready Math program itself, and it's all very connected. And when you get the Ready Math, you get K through 8 automatically. It's all online. Teachers have access to every grade level. It comes with special ed accommodations that the teachers can use for their students in the classroom. It comes with remedial pieces, so if I'm in a lesson on algebraic functions and I have a student that I look at their assessment results, it will tell me, here are the back skills that this student is not competent in or proficient in, and they must have these skills to be able to do what you are asking them to do. So we have the RTI pieces all built into it with it. I have used it now in 2 corporations and seen tremendous growth with our kids. It takes them some getting used to. They have to put the hours in. It's like any program. If we don't do it with Fidelity, we aren't going to see the results. We're going to have to do it with Fidelity. I was able to get Deb a new quote. That quote also, do you want me to talk about that, includes Ready Reading, which I know there was an issue with having as I talked to staff last week about having a reading program. Same concept, you just get iReady diagnostic for both, which gives us a common diagnostic across the reading and math. Same processes, gives you the same pathway for the kids in reading, gives you the same reading pieces. And I've used that one in both places. We were able to get, I believe, 3 or 4 days of professional development built into that. I spoke to the rep that I work with, and Deb even was like, wow, that's a cheap quote.
Because it was what, 31,000 for just math?
Yeah, and the quote that they gave us for math and reading, okay. iReady is the diagnostic. Ready Reading and Ready Math are the curriculum components of it. So they were able to give us all of that, plus the professional development that we will do in very tiny steps, for around $36,000.
It was like $5,000 more.
And I used both of those
Yeah.
programs where I came from, and
It's
this program
really
is huge.
interesting.
It's just very in-depth and very intimidating when you first start out.
And it's really, it's made to, what I like about it is it gives the kids I want kids to talk to each other. They need to process their discussion. And these two programs have all those things built in. They teach the kids how to have math conversations. It teaches the kids how to have literacy conversations. So that they can process and actually, it's really kind of cool when it gets going because you can walk in and these kids are talking in all these math terms and it's like, wow. And they really know what they're talking about, so.
It sounds lovely. I just have one question. Does it, so, and this is just my curiosity. So does it let kids who are more advanced?
Mhm.
So like
That's what the
I'm thinking like
individual-
middle school.
Yeah, that's what the individual pathway is,
Okay.
because the diagnostic is adaptive. And so it puts them where they need to be. We can deal with, if we have some kids, it only goes to 8th grade level, so if we have kids, which I have had, test out of 8th grade, we'll have to look at some other avenues from them, and I have some things that I've used in the past that have worked really well for them. But that has been a handful of kids that actually, even your kids that are considered gifted and talented, don't always pass out of it. It's pretty rigorous.
And not only is it gonna help just the general ed classroom, it's also gonna provide enrichment opportunities for those kids that are advanced and remediation opportunities within the classroom, as opposed to, what.
It'll help with
Now, does it
differentiation.
actually, additional interventions, I know you said the remediation, does it have any other kind of interventions with it at all?
In terms of,
Something that could be done at home or anything
Oh,
like
yeah.
that?
yeah, they can log on, this is all web-based,
Okay.
so the kids can get to it from home if they know their password, or the littles have a badge. And they can work on their pathway anytime they want.
So with the PDs, I know it's probably mostly for teachers, is it anything related for, families, like parents, as far as giving them PDs on? Especially if you're talking about reading
Yeah.
and hang out.
Mm-hmm.
Parents
Absolutely.
and support.
In the pathway, the kids always have an instructional video first. And so there's no reason the parent can't watch the instructional video with
The
them.
parents are gonna love that, because I hear all the time the parents like, I don't know how to do third.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
I don't know
Well,
how to work like that.
And you can watch that instructional
Oh,
video
that's-
as many times as you want.
Wow.
And so, yeah, they can have access to all that. It gives, when we start looking at data with the kids, it gives a very, very friendly parent report that makes sense. I know that, I'll just use the NWEA, when you look at that as a parent, it's like you need like the whole guide that goes with it to understand it. This one spells it all out. It's like a one pager, maybe double-sided. And it says, here's what your student knows, here's what they don't know. Here's what they need to work on. So everything on it is really, really friendly. We use them a lot during parent-teacher conferences.
So some of our like STAR testing goes slower than we would love to
This
see.
correlates to iLearn. There's probably about a 93% correlation to what you score there and what you would score in iLearn.
Well, so like, what I'm thinking, like, so if it's rigorous, and like, do they take an assessment at the beginning of the year to see where
They
they
take
should
a
be
beginning,
starting at?
yes, they take a beginning of the year assessment, they take a middle of the year assessment, and they take an end of the year assessment. And then whenever we set the windows up, they will do a every 2 to 3 week progress monitoring.
So it's no need to have STAR 2 and
Nope.
with this, so
Nope.
we can
Nope.
STAR be gone.
Start with one.
Which is
Okay.
perfect timing, right? 'Cause it's not
So,
very long.
and then also as far as being able to integrate this with, because we use the Google Classroom with
Yep.
Radio. So
It integrates,
integrate
you
that.
can download anything you need to into Google Classroom through Google Forms.
Got another question. As far as grading, can that information then be tracked over to Power School for grading and be able to map over to TE, just to make it ease? If it's given a grade or whatever, will it go over to Power School?
No.
That should though.
You would have to have a third party
Okay.
piece, which I've kind of talked to some people about.
So we've used one, sorry to interrupt, a grade tracker or something, Jen Frankowski would know.
Yeah,
technology.
but,
So I don't know, I know that they use that for Google Classroom.
but it's more of a,
More like.
It's more of a, like,
Student interface.
it's more of like a clever
Yeah.
that is an intermediary where it takes the information and then Clever takes it and then it uploads it to another. That's, that really just brings up a whole nother can
I
of
know,
worms
I'm
that I
sorry.
won't get into right now.
Right, because we're in the process of doing that student integrated system to bring all of our pieces together.
That's what
Because we
Yeah.
don't want teachers to necessarily.
Yeah, that's what
have some
Clever-
Stuff, but being able.
Yeah, because Clever are doing single sign-on for the kids, so
Right.
anything and
That's what I'm saying.
everything that they would need online, it's on that dashboard, it's that
Especially
little
the little
icon,
Mm-hmm.
and they click it.
Oh, really, for all of them? Yeah, it really is.
Mhm.
Just being
But
able
that
to-
single sign-on, yeah, what it does, it just takes their SDN, their local ID, and merges it together
Mhm.
all with everything.
And I was
So,
thinking of these parents who being.
For sure.
Absolutely.
In that one
Yeah,
place.
no, it's just,
And as teams, when teachers are, team, I'm excited to see what's gonna happen, look like even
Mhm.
the teams being able to have all that reading and math. at the
No, they
same
will be
time
able to
and
have
talking about
access.
kids.
every teacher will have access to that, so there's
Oh,
no,
that is good.
every teacher will know exactly what each student's Lexile level is.
Yeah.
So that if they need, and Deb and I were just talking about this tonight, so if they need, to go to an outside source to get something that is teaches a student a standard, but is at their level of reading, so that they still get the core standard. They have the Lexile available to do that, so they can find those resources at that Lexile level.
It just has a lot of,
Yeah.
it's so deep.
I mean,
There's many layers in there.
every year I work with it, I learn
Yeah,
something new.
So did I.
Right, because I'm always like, what are we gonna take off the teacher's plate, when we add something new, what are we taking
Yeah,
off,
yeah.
or it could be, a little bit more.
Give me stop.
And it is overwhelming at first, but I will say, once I had used it, it was it's so informative and so helpful.
And like I said, the way we're gonna break the PD down is they're gonna come in basically for a short period of time until we explain to the teachers, here's how you do the diagnostic. That's all we're gonna do. Get the diagnostic off the ground. When the diagnostic's done, they'll come back in and say, okay, here's how we use the diagnostic data, and here's how we get the diagnostic data. So I've worked with them, they're really, and I know exactly which trainer I'll bring in from the company, so. It's really, really good.
Sounds great. So, thus I see why we probably need to kind of slow down on the summer planning, because that's.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's, just to not get anybody, I hate starting something.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want the teachers to do a lot of
Yeah, we
work
don't
and
want-
have me come in and go, back to train up.
So, this is off topic, but then, back to the summer planning days, that just made me think of it, that's just new this year, right? We've not done that before. And
That's
that's
2 or 3 years.
That's right, I was here last year.
Okay.
Other than that, I don't really think
I'll move to approve the math curriculum.
I second. I'm happy about this.
I don't know if you want to, it's actually math and reading.
Oh,
Math
math
and
and reading.
Mhm.
Yes.
I put a copy in there for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are we in a contract with reading anything right now?
Not based on what you sent me.
The only thing, being like apps or curriculum,
That's a multi-year?
Yeah.
no.
No, nothing.
It would be
you sent me.
journeys, correct?
I think so.
Yeah,
I don't know
we
what
have
time
not,
it is.
no. The only thing we have that's coming through is like social studies and science. And then math was up, obviously, but journeys is,
I'll be honest, I don't like to do multi-year contracts.
Yeah, and I was just curious more so if we were, that we could try to get out of it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't wanna, and not that we would be able to, but
no.
because it's not online stuff, it's the textbook.
No, and generally speaking, if it's multi-year, you're paying for it all upfront anyway.
Mhm.
You'll have,
And journeys is
And you can always get out of it.
disposable, right?
You've already paid.
Or
Or-
most of it?
Yes.
I meant hard books, not disposable. Yeah.
All right, so the math and reading curriculum are approved, the discipline policy. Trying to find it and how to challenge it. Because I did have.
like it's right after the uniform section.
What page?
28 it says, and it'll, after that, on my computer for some reason. Find it?
Yeah. it's here. So we're not making any changes as of now to the policy, right?
There's no yellow highlighted areas. so
Or the
that's-
discipline, the discipline.
That's right after the uniform section, which is all yellow.
What page is it?
29.
On my computer, it's 32.
No. Yeah, mine. So we had, I know I had sent an email with my thoughts on it and talked a little bit to Ernesto and Greg. The only thing, again, like anything in here, I wanna make sure that it's enforceable. And it did have the positive behavior system in here, which I know that maybe we're talking about getting back to, but I don't know if we're at that point yet. So if it's in here, I just wanna make sure we're
Didn't it-
doing what it says.
Didn't it say we were? Didn't it say that we were?
It's in the planning stages.
Yes,
so-
and that's what it's saying
So,
in there.
so
Oh,
we're good with what it
Implementing.
says,
Okay.
Yeah,
because it, I mean,
it will be implementing what it says.
right, but that's, yeah, I mean, that's something that we're gonna work together as a staff,
Yeah.
absolutely, agree,
Right, right.
for sure. But I, it's fine as it's, yeah, as it is right now. I mean, because apparently that, the different categories and all that, that's been in there for a couple of years.
I don't think it was ever changed from when we had our management company, it kind of sounded like, so that's why they're the ones that have the positive behavior, and at one point, we did do that, but I feel like it hasn't been for a little bit, so I just
Yeah.
wanna make sure that if
Yeah.
it's saying it, we're doing it.
Yeah, that's-
Oh, for sure, for sure.
Okay.
I mean, we have to have the whole social emotional component. And that's huge, I
You
mean.
can't have academics.
Exactly, exactly,
Can have that first.
right, so
Alright.
that addresses the behaviors, but it doesn't address the positive, exactly, positive behavior supports that we're, so it really doesn't. We just have to make sure we're doing it all together.
Alright, so, I guess we're not changing anything that we don't even need to do. And then the uniform policy.
Okay, so I'm not printing it. I would need to approve it.
No, because we,
Okay.
nothing's changed in it, so.
So for the uniform, if I'm reading this right, the change is leggings are okay, as long as they fit correctly, and don't have holes. And any solid stripe, any pants, because it doesn't say anything about solids, it used to. So am I reading that right?
Yes, it can be any, it can be purple polka dots.
Okay. That
As
will-
long as it's covering your butt.
Okay, you know what, I was actually, because we're talking about handbook changes, and, so I was gonna go through all of them, all the changes. You know, I mean, I could read them, because I have some notes, I can comment on all of them. I'm gonna have to go through pages, I was hoping in the future, if I'm gonna do this, it's gonna be on the screen, so I can show everybody. I don't have my computer in front of me either. So I just got that like
Our
2
friends
minutes ago.
will be so happy.
Yeah, absolutely, so I apologize, but, you know, actually, on page 5, I'll go through, so we're gonna jump down on the agenda, so I'm gonna hit a lot of the,
It's probably gonna hit these policies.
and it is for sure, it's going to. The first thing on page,
Just the header that you're under.
yeah, 5, under arrival guidelines, I did, it did say, the first 2 weeks, I took out 2 weeks, and it's just gonna say the first week. I also took out the beginning Monday, August 22nd, I had changed that to Tuesday, August 22nd, because that's when we officially start school.
Are we gonna have the gym open right away?
No, the gym won't open until the 28th.
Okay, so
Put that
maybe
in
you
there.
can change that to the 28th.
Yeah,
Why?
the-
Is there a reason why?
It's always been that way.
So the 22nd
know why that we didn't open the gym?
So,
Maybe just a little extra chaos.
Yeah,
I think it would be less
Is it?
chaos, honestly, though, because that week is so chaotic, because everybody tries to get here from 7:45 to 8 o'clock.
Mhm.
We're normally at 7:30 when the gym opens, so it's gonna alleviate, like, people
So it's
coming.
gonna be the students over that have come in the past.
Right. Yeah,
So,
so I think, like, the kiddies are gonna, their parents are gonna lock them all in
Mhm.
regardless,
Right,
it's gonna be, but I do think it would be better if we did. I don't know if it had to do with, like, Kenny being
Yeah,
needed elsewhere.
Kenny's gonna need help if it's gonna be
The
that
first
first
day.
week, that first chaotic week. He's gonna need help.
Oh, then yeah.
I mean, well, there'll be other people around.
Yeah, I'm sure we can get
Yeah.
volunteers for that, not a big deal. And I feel like the kids that are gonna be going to the gym aren't gonna be kids that normally don't go, it's not gonna be new kids, so I don't know if that's gonna really.
Mhm.
so I think, yeah, that.
It's easier to get the information out when there's not, except for the 25th.
Yeah, 25th.
Right, exactly. Right.
Is there a-
Actually drop us off on 20.
I think that's just the way it was the last 2 years.
Okay.
But really, the
If it's,
former
if
kids
it's-
are just, it's normally
Yeah, I
the
mean,
first time students.
so they come in.
He's just gonna need extra help to keep adults walking kids
I'll
and try to get them out
Yeah.
there.
Help them
Oh,
conduct
that'd be
traffic,
fine.
yeah.
Yeah.
we can-
We
yeah.
can handle it.
So what do they do when they come into the gym?
They just-
How long is it a holding tank for?
15 minutes,
Not no problem.
as long as it's structured, that's what we have,
Mhm. Yeah.
So when you want the gym open, what date?
the 22nd.
And parents will be so happy about that. I feel like,
Yes,
Good.
and parents will be very happy.
So the communication is up, and they're not waiting at 7:45 for the gym to open at 7:30. So that buffer built, and like now we're allowing it because we don't have the buildup of people waiting for the gym to open.
And there's always kids showing up at 7:15, 7:20 to drop kids off in the gym.
It sounds like maybe an automated phone call right before school starts, to kind of give them a reminder and say.
Or
"This is the
reminder.
change."
It's unsafe.
I mean, all of that stuff usually goes out,
Yeah.
it doesn't
Anyways.
matter, like, you're gonna.
Yeah, right, right.
But there'll be
But-
adults out there that say, sorry, it doesn't open until 7:30.
Mhm.
And you can't drop your kid off before 7:30. Some do.
They love it.
Good? Okay, page 6, we add a phone number to the after-school care. Page 6, under cell phones. You guys can see, I did strike out that second complete sentence.
I am a little confused by this, so is this gonna change, because as of now, I know middle school teachers will encourage students to listen to music during study hall or things like that.
What I am saying is, if a student has a phone and we're allowing staff to take it away, then we become responsible for it. So if something happens to it, we're responsible for it.
Yeah,
So that's why I'm saying that we're not going to allow staff members to take kids' phones away. So that's why I want to strike it.
yeah.
So they just have to remain in the opposition or in their backpack.
Yes.
And if it's
That's
out,
the rule,
if it's out, then ask them to put it away. If we can't take it.
unless the teacher makes an exception for that rule, or that's just the
But I
rule.
think you had a different philosophy on that, right?
As far as,
It felt like as far as students could use them like how you're saying, like they
Yeah.
are.
If the teacher says, all right, if you have a device you made for look, whatever it is.
Right.
right, see, I have to go back to my earlier comment. It sounds to me that there's a lot of inconsistency that is going on within the school. You guys would know that. I don't. To sit and make a policy or to sit and make a change here is very difficult to do without really knowing. There are teachers that we're all gonna have different levels of what we accept and what we don't. But there are certain things that we're not going to do. We're not going to take away phones because then you're legitimately responsible for them if they break, if something happens. So we are gonna develop a lot of consistent, I guess, roles and whatever. So I'm taking up the things that are, if you detail every little thing in the handbook, like I see in here, you're really hoping, you're exactly right, you're asking for trouble, you're asking people to pick things.
Tying people's hands.
You are.
Yeah.
And we have to have, and I'm not trying to get on a soapbox here, but we have to, I have to get to know the staff, I have to get to know the procedures, I have to get to know so many things before I feel comfortable coming in here and, making certain changes and things like that. There are times when it's okay for a kid to have a cell phone. There are. It's okay.
I think that's where we're gonna have to come in and we will set the expectations for the
Absolutely.
staff and let them know at the beginning of the school year, which is something we haven't had a chance to talk about.
Yes,
But there are gonna be expectations when
Mhm.
it comes to the phones.
absolutely.
Can you put that
So
in
yeah,
there?
so there'll have to be something in here.
Something about,
Well,
very,
but-
have it as general, like you said, not too specific, and say
That's-
specific detail will be provided by the teacher.
That's why I'm suggesting to take it out, because that is giving the flexibility for us to kind of operate as we should.
Yeah.
So,
Unless they remain in opposition during school hours.
yeah,
Yes.
I was just suggesting writing that down, basically.
Yeah.
It's subject to the discretion, or whatever you want to word it, to procedures that will be determined by each teacher and shared, blah, blah, blah. I don't know what the word is.
and see that, and that's becoming specific, too specific.
Yeah.
Oh.
That is, so,
So that causes a situation where then that one particular class has to be monitored and everything like
I think it needs to be the expectations across the board the same.
Right.
We just have to figure out those expectations, right?
Because there are gonna be times when it might be appropriate for them to use their cell phone in class. For instance, I know if we're out doing plant identification, we're gonna want the kids to have their phone because it has an app that does it for them.
So this language will change then. Do we like that?
No, I think it's just leaving it open so they could go into.
But it
the
literally
school.
says they must remain off. We're
Right.
not talking that they don't, unless.
And I
or
know
it's
a
on it.
parent, like if something happens where like an inappropriate
Right
text
here.
message is sent, a parent is gonna say, in your handbook, it says that they're not supposed to even have their phones. Right,
I was
exactly.
gonna say, there's some that have smartwatches. It's 2023, it's really
We can't.
They are.
So when I hear, people say the first line, right, cell phones that are brought to school must remain in the off position during school hours. And could it say,
Unless
When-
direct-
the
unless
kid
directed
is
by
directed
staff.
to a lesson, or just some kind of way of putting it in there like that? So, because you're saying it must remain off, that's what I'm saying. So like, we need to kind of change that first sentence then.
How about just remain on silent? No, but I mean like, the way it's not disrupting anybody.
Well, I mean, you could also put in during the school hours,
while you're in the classroom.
unless, I don't know how you wanna word it, like it's
Unless being used. for
allowed by,
education.
education or a teacher,
At the
educational
teacher's
discretion, at the teacher's discretion.
Okay.
Well, that's what we said before.
Some
Okay.
of them
That's-
That's what I said, just say that.
Call your parents, we have a lot of.
So that means
them.
if we're-
Let's not forget that.
What do you say?
I said, or to bring them food. That definitely happens. And part of it is just the way the world.
It is, you have to
Different
different ways.
Something.
Should they be talking during conversation during class? No. They shouldn't. So we just have to set those expectations.
I think it's just the first sentence definitely.
We just
Reword that.
do we just agree to just fix it right now, then?
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
it should read, cell phones that are brought to school, doing this off the top of my head, must be shut off
Unless otherwise.
unless
directed.
otherwise, yeah,
That's-
that should be, yes, unless otherwise told, and it should be under the discretion of the teacher.
Thank you,
Go
I
ahead.
was gonna say.
Real time. Sounds good.
Oh, well, I just tuned in.
He's actually texting. All right, we're ready to move on.
This would be an apple.
Well, and then it has the whole second paragraph to strike through
Right, yeah.
about,
Yes.
Is that good about the articles
Yeah.
to remove?
Just why though, I'm just wondering.
Because they're not gonna take them away, is what they're saying.
But how many emails did we get this year about kids not bringing toys? Please don't bring, like, your kids bring toys to school. So if it's not in the handbook. You know what I mean?
I think it's very consistent. Because a lot of little people want some of them in there, and sometimes they will allow them on lunch hour, right? So same thing with that whole phone policy, is that some things are kind of appropriate, like even for the little ones.
Well, and I think that goes to what they're saying, like they need to
No,
put together, yeah, but like.
So like if they bring Beyblades or whatever they wanna play with at recess, that's fine, they just can't be out of the classroom.
Yeah.
Or out in the hallway or in the lunchroom.
Oh, but I think Greg is still on cell phone.
Oh.
Right?
No,
Oh,
I
no,
think
he's
on
on
the
the
article.
Articles.
Oh,
No.
that's
It's-
fine.
it's- yeah.
I was
You- you
still-
guys-
Even if it
That's
becomes
what I-
a disruption or whatever, that is dealt with, right?
Absolutely.
As far as.
Like if they're disrupting class with it, then,
Exactly.
right.
That's,
Can we approve what we agree on and say that this is gonna be, this will be included, approved at a later date?
Yeah.
Include an amendment of some sort?
Well, I mean, we can amend it at any point, like we amended it a few times last year, so, yeah, we can definitely amend it. It's like a working document
Yes.
then, at that point.
I guess we're just trying to make sure.
Okay. You ready?
Good for her.
Okay. Well, let's go back. I just wanted to make sure that we were, when I said to remove all the articles, again, is there no time throughout the day? So if we're gonna do, I guess do this here, then I guess we're gonna do this here and now. But like, is there any time when kids are not allowed to bring things from home and like play with during free time during the course of the day? Whether it be recess, whether it be downtime in class, I mean, if it's an issue, that, could that teacher not address it with those specific kids and say, put that stuff away right now, because we're doing instruction? That's, because this list could be exhausting. It could go on for days upon days. So, that's why I think it needs to be taken out, because I think if a teacher, a principal, if they have classroom management, student rapport, doesn't mean that kids aren't gonna break it from time to time, but you deal with it with that individual kid or group of kids. And just, you conference with them, you talk to them, and it doesn't, everything is not going to be solved by putting it in, or if it's in, or if it's not in a handbook. So again, I don't know the atmosphere here, and since we're talking about this here, then that's fine, I have no problem going through and debating, but we could agree to disagree on things. And it's probably not the best place to do it right now, right here, it should be in an executive session. So that's fine, I'm fine with it, but
And what I hear you saying is some of this can be handled through classroom management, not necessarily.
100, yeah, same thing with the discipline plan itself, absolutely.
And I think it's good to have this conversation in open session, because I think it's good, because other people are probably gonna have the same questions, and I think it's good to just,
No.
yeah, like. I think
Yeah,
that
but-
would-
but I also, go ahead.
You would still have the open session, but you would hammer the bulk of it out in the exec session.
There's nothing that we can have an executive session,
What?
we can't have an executive session under the handbook. It's not in any of the,
But you're calling them policies.
Yeah.
but policy's not in, we can't make policy in executive session.
You don't,
But we're not approving.
you don't make it, it's.
So, I mean, and that's fine, I mean, we can, but this is, I mean, we're gonna go through all of this. Like, and that's fine, I mean, I don't care, but, What page are we on?
So are we leaving, we're omitting the articles from the drug store, correct? Okay, we're on here.
We're a
We're
minute.
on here policy. I think we should.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, that's. Okay. And then the snack policy. Did we, yeah, I guess we did do the hair policy.
Yeah, the policy
That's
working
page
group
7.
felt that there was no reason to have the hair policy.
Mhm.
It's not something anyone's gotten in trouble for.
It's just not.
And we had Mohawk.
Right, right.
It was from the policy, this getting rid of it was from the policy committee, and it was from AQS is what.
Is where it derived from originally, yeah.
Okay.
What's next?
Healthy snacks, the snack policy, I mean, I thought, so it's 7 and 8. I thought it was fine.
Oh, it's right underneath, it's not highlighted, right underneath the hair
They
policy.
said it's fine.
If we made changes, it should be yellow, yes.
Like I would-
So it would
Page 8 talks about holidays. We changed holidays to celebrations.
Yeah.
Winter.
We also took out the line where it says the parent guardian or guardians planning the party may distribute prizes for everyone such as pencils, erasers. Took that out and we just basically added celebration. There was talk about, I guess, the hour, I'm sorry, up at the top. I guess, it stipulates that they're an hour, the parties, so some are going past it, I would say strike it out completely. I don't know why. Yeah.
Some, and like
Some are-
especially
some
special.
are long,
or-
yeah, gotcha. Okay.
I think that was probably just from when school, like we started, a lot of the stuff that not even.
All right, page 12. I saw something about pink eye, that there wasn't a reason to stay home anymore. I mean, it still is, if there's, for sure. So they still do have to,
They don't have to be on this one.
Well,
it
so
can't be any.
I was the one
Oh,
that
they-
questioned that, and it's because last year Nurse Bert was saying that they didn't have to be home for it. So I just, again, wanted to be consistent, and
I would think they
I just know there were some students that were.
There were definitely some kids who did
They-
not
well, they were-
not get sent home with pink eye.
They were told that it wasn't a reason to not be in school anymore, so we just need to clarify it.
Got it,
for
okay,
the
that
next
makes
year, what my point was. Because that's what pediatricians are saying now.
They were?
But to be fair, and a little tangent, most pink eye is not viral anyway, or it's not bacterial, it's viral anyway, so antibiotics are just more for our brains, I think that it's doing something than it actually is doing something.
Page 10, we, under textbooks, library books, audiovisual equipment, other school materials, we took out straight through at the beginning, all the way down to the May 1st, otherwise, overdue fees would be sent to collection. We took all that out because it's obviously not pertinent. We did leave the rest of it though, because there is also, there's library books and other school materials that we can collect now. Okay, good. Okay, let's see, anything on 11? Page 12, just at the very bottom, we took out that due to the ongoing COVID-19. Let's hope we don't have to bring it back. Page 14, there was wellness promotion, obviously the wellness promotion under the snacks and lunches, same thing for allergies. It's all good. jump to,
Wait, for,
go ahead.
you didn't change anything for wellness?
No.
Right, okay.
Okay, page 23. Just on the back, on the very bottom, I hope it's on page 23 for you guys. Any parent or guardian invited to be a chaperone must have, after, okay, so, I believe, Vanessa, you probably found that, I don't think you can see it, obviously, here, but. Page 24. Okay, you guys ready for this one?
Policy enforcement, is that what you're talking about?
Where are we at?
Responsibility.
Okay, on page, we're on page 24 now. It's under athletics, band, and extracurricular programs and clubs. Okay, under the responsibilities. Number 2, obviously change the year or the dates to 2023, 24. Okay, under number 3, I struck that whole basically line and just put a grade of F in the class will automatically make the students eligible.
So D is,
No,
okay.
So is that for the whole,
that's it's for everything.
I meant for like the whole quarter? Is it for
Did you have that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and what did you put the, because like I said, I don't have my computer in front of me. So I can't type it.
Yeah, grade of F in any class on a report card will automatically make the student ineligible. Reinstatement will be based on grade and or behavior status as determined by administration, coach, sponsor, and student. Because obviously, seasons don't necessarily line up with quarters, right?
Exactly.
So it was, the challenge is trying to figure out how you do that, and so.
So why are we going away from, because I do feel like for some kids, it made them,
Incentivized.
and yeah, to do better in school with the weekly, like they had to have it signed off by their teacher.
Well, and I'm gonna say yes and no, because the problem is some teachers don't, because of how they see their teachers, their grades are not updated.
And
So
that's
like,
just
if
it,
they
they
don't
grade
see that
cards, yes.
special teacher for another 2 weeks, it could be that they get something in, and it may not happen.
But report cards could be the whole season or,
But when you're, for sport,
or not even just sports.
okay, so aren't you looking at it per quarter, like?
Did you do every week?
I did it before each game,
Before each
so
game?
it was weekly at a certain point in the season, it was weekly.
So it gave them time to get whatever in that they had to get in. It's just that when, that's kind of hard if the teachers are then not gonna put their grades in exactly.
For cross country, it'd be weekly too, because the meets are.
That would cost, no matter what, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think the challenge, so I'll speak on kind of behalf of the other side of it too. Someone's gotta then look up all those grades
Right.
and, you know, depending on the day, maybe there's time, maybe there's not. The requirement wasn't weekly, that's not how we had it before. I think Joe kind of went above and beyond with some of that. So the challenge is trying to figure out a way to set it up that is fair to the kids, considering the points like Lori made where, you know, sometimes some teachers are quicker with grades than others. But still have the opportunity there for there to be room for students to earn their spot back on the chance that they do have a failing grade.
So Greg and Vera, what do other middle schools do? But just for the quarterly? Because I know like at Elko with the boys, where it was, they had to be a good standing going in, but they had to stay in good standing throughout the season. Like they couldn't, like if their grades failed, then they stopped being.
It's same, it depended on the coaches, like someone that's checking all the time, but, I mean, Kenny coached for Chesterton.
And it's really not fair to the teacher either, because like I had a couple students last year, they just didn't turn the work in, so then they bring up all this work, and when that teacher to immediately changed it for that game that day.
Well, but that's an issue, right? That's not teaching My thing is more like, we need to be having the same expectations that a traditional public school can have, so if they're not doing that, because when these kids are feeding into the high school,
That's why you follow
then-
IHSA guidelines.
And usually
Yeah,
that
like-
is right
So
before.
it's a GPA and number, or a number of Fs
for
Yes.
the,
For eligibility.
for eligibility.
oh, no, but I mean like for the,
But,
so on your report card.
It's just when the grades come out.
but then,
But then the problem is, it carries, what happens is, when you do that, it's got its pluses and minuses to it. It carries into another season, and a kid can't, they can practice, but they can't participate until the next grades come out. And I hate to do this to you, but I'm gonna say it anyway. As I look to the future, where we're headed anyways, that kind of policy takes completely out of the picture, students all learn at their own pace. And technically, if we're gonna go down proficiency, none of our kids should be failing. Because,
that is like a whole.
I know it is,
It
I'm
is.
just saying, I'm just saying,
And
so,
we're gonna get there, but
Yeah.
it is gonna take a while, because actually, we're talking about two different things. These are, a lot of times, not always, but a lot of times, these are behaviors. And that's why I felt compelled to add the student, it's the coach, it's the, whether it's an administrator or a teacher, but it's the student. And the most important part of the puzzle that we tend to forget, because the whole purpose of this is to try to improve a student behavior. Because if it's an academic, if a kid is getting an F because he or she doesn't know something, then that's our fault. I got a problem with that. I really do.
that's where I'm coming
Exactly.
But what was happening last year was kids weren't, and I see what you're saying, but then that's also on them. Like, if they're not turning their work in when it's supposed to be turned in, then they probably should be sitting out the games. Like, they shouldn't be relying on the teacher to hurry up and put the games in so they could. I just want our students to be prepared for when they
The
leave
next, what
discovery.
they do, right.
And that's where,
from.
like,
Which would
I
be
wanna
then
make
you
sure
would
we're on.
follow the IHSA.
That's kind of,
And
it takes everything out of it. But, because this, it doesn't necessarily say that, but it kind of does, because in the clubs, that what Indiana High School Athletic Association guidelines don't apply to clubs.
Mhm.
So it's not written correctly, because if you talk about intramurals, even at the high school, you can play them if you got 4 straight Fs.
Yeah.
Or clubs, after school activities, but it's all clumped in together because we're a K to 8. So once we get into actual competing, like we do at the middle school, then it does make sense, but we can't apply that policy to all the clubs.
And that's why I think, and this should be like up to the coach to have that more intimate policy that they may have.
Right, so that's, so like looking at this, and, that's why
Are the grades a common problem, Jeff, for basketball?
I'm
Yeah,
sure.
it is.
Oh, for basketball?
What is it,
Parents
to
right.
missing and late work?
That's what it comes down to, but that's the problem, right? Like, they should be focusing
That
on,
comes before basketball, right?
Mhm.
It should.
Now, a couple
My
hard
letter
lessons
grade is
last
based
year.
off of how many missing and late work assignments.
and I think that was part of, like, what you said, Fred, like, that was part of why the board was kind of leaning towards a separate handbook, because it should be separate, right?
Yes.
Like, it's not gonna be the same consequences for a third grader, like, in a
Absolutely.
club that
Right.
should be for a middle schooler.
Yeah, right, because then it does, it takes out, but even, middle school still have, they still have intramurals and after-school clubs. And maybe it should be, those same consequences be applied to them as well. I'm not saying that, but it's not gonna be, you're not gonna find that in the athletic, guidelines.
So maybe we expect more,
Yeah, no,
okay,
that's,
right? Like-
yeah, and
We always did it for clubs and
it
athletics.
makes
We just did it across the
complete
board.
sense, but there's a lot of schools that don't.
They don't, no.
Uh-huh.
For ease of,
Cause it's a lot of work.
it is a lot of work.
It is, and you have to have someone kind of man it, and that's why I was saying it would be behoove us just to kind of have the general, right?
just thinking about drama, you've got kids K through 8, how would you
K through eight,
possibly
and
even
there's
check?
120 of them.
How would
Yeah,
you even
it's-
check?
It's a lot.
Right. And so if you're just going by their quarter grades, you know,
So we're looking
they may
at,
be failing in that second
When they're
quarter
really
because,
good.
you know, they
Yeah.
meet the
Their grades
requirements
are
in the
good.
first quarter.
Like 2 weeks.
You know what I mean? If they're failing, I mean,
So
but
much
if they
I
really
think,
get it up.
We're talking about
so much
Sometimes
different
you
than
policies,
relationships too.
little things.
So, not sure what we wanna do here with that, because that is,
Could we make it more generalized and leave it up to the sponsor or the coach? With like a
with the,
stipulation
with
that,
the understanding that we have to fix this by,
Could we
next year.
say,
I mean,
Yeah.
we really have
could
to
we
fix
say
it.
something like refer to your, the separate manual and then
Yeah, the
come up
code,
with
code of
that?
conduct that we had signed, so code of conduct based on that particular
It
activity.
could be
or
a
club.
collaboration between the teacher whose grades the kid is lower in and the coach. Like if a kid is failing in math, can Mr. Underwood reach out to the coach and have, and
like, is
communicate
it like
that
a
way?
misassignment, like behavior issue
Right.
versus like what you were
Right.
saying, like an
Right.
academic issue?
Cause it could be easy as a form too, or even or Google sheet, you know, to say,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
checking on attendance and how they're doing in that particular.
that's
not
the
attendance,
thing that
but-
I do.
Then the
Love
teacher,
that
then the
with-
teacher
yeah,
can know the
honestly.
situation a lot better too, than the coach who might be completely outside of the school
Exactly,
looking at
outside
those
of the school.
grades and not knowing the
Exactly.
situation.
But we do want something that's gonna encourage them, again, like I said, depending on when they're gonna see that teacher, because they're not seeing teachers every day too. That's still one of the issues, I know with middle school, is you're not gonna see your technology teacher for a couple of weeks.
We changed that though. It's more
Oh.
frequent now. It's still not every day, but it's more frequent than it was last year.
So what do we think?
If we need to.
Why don't you guys talk about it?
Yeah.
And then
We can come back, this is.
It is, it's not a decision that's been made right now.
No,
so
because it's part of your.
It is.
So
It
we
is.
just see,
Yeah.
we table it, yeah, we can talk about it at the July meeting.
Because I definitely think it should be separated in athletics and especially possibly middle school and elementary as well. So, sorry, I'm just taking what I got, so,
No, it's good though,
I think
because
this is like some of the best discussion we've had in a while, so let me report it.
oh, it's only gonna get better, just watch.
And just because we did it before doesn't mean that we keep on doing it.
Page 27.
So we didn't transfer to the online version, a lot of spaces.
So what do we?
Oh, wait, I
We're
gotta
down right to
jump, I gotta go back.
You're
I-
you're at right to monitor
I'm sorry?
now. If we said we tabling, this
What's for?
sports, so now your next yellow section was, right to
Technology.
monitor.
Okay, technology.
Mhm.
Yeah, here we go.
Technology. Technology.
Okay, on page,
On the right page.
yeah, you are 25, it's gonna be on page 26. Under penalties for improper use, it says if users of the technology do not follow these rules of acceptable use, it should say, after there, it should say disciplinary action may be taken and alternative assignments will be required. I wanna take out where it says the 3-month. I mean, I don't know, I mean, I think that's extremely, it's gonna be excessive, because then, I mean, there's a whole teacher component to this as well, I mean, if it becomes, it's gotta be like on a case-by-case basis. I think if we put those things in there,
So we have 1 week, 1 month, and 3 months
yeah,
to the entire
right,
academic year.
but then what is, if, without knowing how often, well, I mean, I can tell you in the future, it looks like they're gonna be on computers quite a bit. I have, so,
Well, and that's what I I will say that I
Yeah.
think that this was written when it wasn't, we weren't so tech heavy.
Google Classrooms and.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So it's just
So
not,
it would be just like, right, I mean, we have to punish the behavior, but we have to maybe do something else, because if we take that away, then, you know, how are we?
What
Oh
is
my
it?
gosh, it's
Right.
unbelievable, and unbelievable amount.
We
Everyone.
need to get creative with cleaning jobs.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, see, all that stuff's gonna happen,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure, so,
And clean every year with a Q-tip.
yes.
take all this.
That's what I was thinking, so maybe instead of 3 months, you could put some kind of.
But what if you just don't put,
Subject
don't need
subject
to
to
put-
history.
Take just
Right.
straight out, and we don't,
The 3 months or all of them?
it doesn't make a difference.
I'll
You reserve the right, I mean,
Right.
I'm just
To
asking
enact
if we're taking level 1, 2, and 3 out and just having one level, or.
we'll just take it
how
off.
about, yeah, I mean, it's already gonna say that you're gonna get punished, and there's an whether it's an alternative
Accordingly.
assignment, whether it's a day or two or whatever. We're not gonna stipulate, okay, it's all right, this is your second infraction, because the second infraction could be really bad, or it could be very minor.
You
So-
guys work that out and then
Yes.
that will feel that reflect.
Um,
So the handbook's not gonna be able to go out with registration.
Well, like, the last couple of years, we posted it as a draft anyways, because the meeting just fell after registration, so I don't know that there's a problem with that.
27, dress code. We don't need a K-3, 4-8. It's just, we have, upper garments, lower garments. I'll go with the upper garments first. It says, we're just basically taking out the shorts, and skirts must be no shorter than 3 fingers above the knee. Students may wear tights, we're taking out that part out. So they're the exact same. And then the upper garments, we're just taking out midriffs. I think it's kind of already stated, because it says shirts must be properly fitted, not oversized or overly tight, and must cover the top of the lower garment. So it's already kind of stated, so I don't think we need it, so I think we could just have a upper garment and a lower garment. So it's the same. That's right. I just changed it.
Oh,
I
okay,
get it.
okay,
It's on that one,
okay.
which I should be actually reading that instead of these. These are my notes. So, let me see. Do you have any comments or questions in regards to that?
Make it enforceable. No, it's good.
Okay.
No, that's the thing parents always wanna know is this piece right here. And there's a lot of discussion of prints, leggings, so I think this will be, welcomed.
Yes.
So that's good.
Jumping for joy.
Alright. So, that page is now next up, so. front of it, yeah. Oh, the footwear, I thought,
We just reduced some redundancy.
yeah, I mean, it kind of already stipulates that, right? Doesn't it? Unless I'm missing something.
No, I'm just looking.
Yeah, yeah, like,
I do have a question about the dress code and actions. So who's keeping track of them? Like, is it,
The teachers, it's gonna be ultimately the teacher's job to keep track of dress code. If there's anything that we, the admin need to address, the teachers are gonna talk to us. I don't think, if we walking the hallways are not gonna be able to tell if the teacher's already addressed it or not. An aide is not gonna be able to tell if the teacher's already addressed it or not in a different class, so I think it has to come from their homeroom teacher.
and then will the parents sign it if it goes home? And send it back in? How do you know that they're keeping it home?
The forms have not been created yet.
I kind of feel like it should just be a Google Doc or email or something that goes home instead of an actual.
That's what I was
It's
thinking.
too easy to forge.
Mhm. Yeah. And then, you know, our teachers do a really good job, they're gonna reach out to the parents.
And the way that it's written now, it'd have to be something kind of serious, not just, oh, they have a strike, right?
And then just so you guys notice that it's, upper garments all are discovery, there's no, plain shirts over, it's all.
But it can be under.
Under, yes.
And zip-up hoodies can be anything.
No.
It's not-
Well,
it needs to be-
it says zip-up hoodies are allowed so long as discovery shirts weren't underneath.
Yeah, that's.
So that's any zip-up hoodie then, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't make sense. Can be worn anywhere, anytime.
Go ahead.
Like a zip-up hoodie can be worn
I thought when
anywhere, at
we,
any
the
time.
four of us met, we were gonna take that out and it was gonna be all discovery on top only to make it easy. So it's not like, we were saying like people just zip them up and then it's not, you don't see the discovery logo anywhere. But
Well, some are just plain sweatshirts kids wear, so it's not even a zip.
Right.
So it has to be a zip, this is speculated, it's not a hoodie anymore?
I just think it should be taken out and make it easy, because otherwise these conversations are gonna happen with parents.
Okay.
And I still have a concern because everybody can afford.
Right, and that's-
a
Yeah.
or
And that
a
was
zip
why
up.
they had kind of
Well, so,
Went with the zip up. And I know we have alternative, I'm just saying my concern is
I
a
think
parent
so.
who has more than one kid here to buy that hoodie or whatever, or even if it's donated. All of that, I was just saying, just wanna be mindful.
but then they always have the option of wearing a long sleeve shirt under the t-shirt as well. And that could be anything. I see both sides. I get where you're coming from because some of the families don't have.
Or like if a kid's cold, they wanna put their, whatever they have on. right?
Then they're gonna be able to put whatever on if they're cold.
But see, I think that changes too, because some classrooms are literally super hot versus another one, but they have to go to the next period. You know, for over there, especially in middle school, it's just.
I mean, if we have it, the Discovery hoodies zip up, they always have the option of not wearing that and wearing a long sleeve shirt under their t-shirt. So.
I can't really make a comment on it, I don't know.
I just want it enforceable. So again, like whatever's in here, I want it to be able to be enforceable by admin, because that has, like, you walk in middle school, you don't see kids with discovery anything on them. If we're saying that, that's what.
Really?
They're just wearing a
Because
regular
they're wearing
sweatshirt.
sweatshirts over zipped up hoodies that are buttoned up. It's just, even fifth grades like that, fourth grades like that. So
Well,
I just,
I'll be honest, I don't wanna go around and make sure all of them are on zip
Yeah,
either,
so-
so it might just be easier to do.
so just make it
Discovery.
discovery. There is ways, like, that if people need help,
There's
there's
resources.
resources available.
And if you look, they're all wearing the same one anyway every day, so.
Everyone
every day.
Yes, yes, they are. So we can put.
Still mostly.
You know, we have in there, resources are available, see admin and social worker for.
Yeah, I
Support.
agree.
Yeah.
But I just still think, I get it, why we do it, totally.
And a lot of times that comes out in conversations when we're talking to students that aren't in dress code.
Well, and I would imagine the teacher has a pretty good clue of
Yeah,
who
for
to,
sure.
who's messing around and who.
Even though I
needs to
have a
be-
bag full of sweatshirts and hoodies to give away, and I found small, like this. Oh, this year. Since we're out of here.
Okay, are we done with that?
Okay, page 43, school communication policy. Just strike the last sentence. But in addition, all Discovery personnel, including administration, teaching staff, and the board of directors, should make every effort to use proper spelling and grammar and all written communications. I'm sure everyone tries to, attempts to, but, so I mean, I think we all make mistakes.
I'll take it.
She's taken out.
Yeah.
And last but not least, on page 49, to strike COVID-19. Very last page.
Just get this straight, yeah.
Well, that's not too bad, just those two areas.
So no, this stuff we
It's not a question.
with this in there.
Like
Yes.
as far as
Do you want them to think?
have we ever thought
It's
about,
already in here.
we stay or no, just like a 3 to 5 days?
We do, they call and they have,
Do we do it for staff too, or?
We.
I was like, I would have taken all those pencils.
I would say, just knowing that the overall attendance is what really affected the overall school grade and accountability, I think the school is probably better off sticking with what is allowed and permitted by state code, would be my thoughts on it.
I know, I'm not talking about, no.
and sometimes those students that need that end up just chilling in somebody's office. That just-
All right, so the uniform policy, we approved that.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Uniform policy is approved. I don't know, do we need a vote to remove the hair policy?
Wouldn't hurt.
I put it on there, so I wasn't sure. So I'll motion to remove the hair policy.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So we'll remove that from the handbook. The walking, bike riding policy, we went over that at the last meeting, but we just need to approve it.
I'll make a motion to approve.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
I did have one question, but I'm sorry, this is really late. Sorry, I'm looking at it. I'm just confused. It says that they can't ride bikes, but then it also says that you should contact an administration with your intent to ride bikes, so. Am I reading that right?
So we had removed
Just so I'm kind of.
some of it. So Monica would tell you that you can't tell parents how they get their kids to school because we don't provide transportation.
Okay,
The more pieces you put in place, the more liable and accountable you are for anything that may happen. And so that's why that was worded the way it was when we went through this process.
so that we
because
ask.
Our
Yes,
preference, our
Gotcha.
recommendation, our suggestion is that kids do not ride their bikes or walk to school, but ultimately we can't.
But if you're gonna do it, let us know.
Yeah, and Greg and I actually, we went through and removed that part too, because there's really nothing extra that we do with that information.
Oh,
So it's like a step that doesn't really do anything.
so you're removing that part,
So we removed that part.
okay.
Because I think if you put it in, you're basically saying, hey,
You're
if
watching
you
it.
talk to us,
Right.
then we're gonna say you
And we've
can't.
only had
I
one
mean,
last
and
year.
that's, I mean, that's not.
How many live?
The ones that live over here,
They walked through the,
Yeah.
but then we had a bike rider last year.
That's extremely dangerous. Are they crossing?
What about horses?
I mean, worst part was gonna know.
Oh,
Yeah,
right.
worst part was-
all right, snack policy. We just need to approve that.
I'll motion to approve.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Transportation policy,
I'll motion to approve.
second. All in favor?
Aye.
Retention policy,
Motion to approve.
I'll second, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, the school communication policy. We don't think that one's changed. But I'll motion to approve,
I'll second.
all in favor?
Aye.
And then the non-discriminatory policy,
I'll motion to approve.
all in favor?
Yeah, and what we noted in there, we had a different one on the website than what was in the handbooks, and the one on the website was a little more clarifying, so that we just adjusted that one.
They were like pretty much the same as far as. All right, and then
Wait,
the
did
student.
you do that one or not?
Yes,
Who seconded it?
I did.
Okay.
The student handbook will hold off on until the next meeting, and you guys will look at those two areas.
Can we're gonna publish it as a draft, as a pass?
Well, they have to,
No, it's too.
that's why I'm confused about the student handbook. Ernesto, you said that it was, you said that it was published as a draft?
Yeah, so the last couple of years, we published it with the draft watermark on it,
Well,
because
don't they have to sign it?
there's the handbook form, yeah,
So
because the information goes out with registration, so,
were they signing it before? It was-
yeah.
I feel like they shouldn't with these two changes.
I mean, at any given time, you can update and change and approve them, just like we do throughout the year.
It's
There's
up to you guys.
Always addendums.
Because we can always let them know that the final draft is.
Yeah, I like
still
for
there.
it to go out so people can know some things.
Yeah.
They have to just kind of hold back everything.
Yeah, and I mean, typically at that point,
So in that,
discussions have already been made, and it's just waiting on the process of approving it.
well, and you guys are gonna talk about it prior, right?
Before registration?
Yeah, so maybe then you can just put in there like pending board approval or something on those two sections, and then we can get rid of that, so then it will be what you guys are thinking anyway.
Right.
School report.
So do we need to?
No, I got you.
No, I got it.
All right, so we sent out the first reminder about registration. Some of the outstanding items still, as always, waiting on contractors, so, the extra light to illuminate the double doors, adding that additional key fob above the kid stop entry. The wooden post in the lunch area still will be replaced. Beeline Cleaning Company, the new cleaning company, so there will be a walk through the 27th, that they will do with the new cleaning company. Chromebooks, we still need 2 sets. You'll need to get confirmation if PAC is covering those costs, or if that's a cost that the school will need to absorb.
You guys talk.
But we've got the quotes that I shared with PAC. I think last time, I think it was still up for discussion. And so those will be to replace 2 middle school sets. The signage we spoke about, the transition, so yeah, I've been sharing stuff with Greg for the last week and a half. We initially met last Monday and sat for a bit and talked about some things, and been sharing documents, folders. I'll give him a hard drive with some of my computer files, which may or may not be needed. Some of them are pretty historic, but better to pass it on than not. We submitted the title pre-app today. The SPED Part B assurances were submitted. And then the rest of the grants, Greg signed up for the Friday DOE superintendent mail, and so he'll be on the lookout, as well as Kiki, for some of those upcoming grant dates that have yet to be released. The only one we know right now is that Title I is due August 31st. I'll work with him on setting up my out-of-office email at the end of this week. My recommendation would be that it's not a direct forward to Greg, because after 13 years, you get quite a bit of spam list junk, and it would just clog up his.
Thank you.
So I'll work with him on if he wants all emails of importance to go to him, or if he wants to kind of filter invoices to someone else and that type of stuff. And then I did share with him the preliminary iLearn scores. They'll be finalized in July. There's typically not much change from the preliminary to the finalization, but he's got those as well. And then-
Learning experiences for May, there was quite a few, I'm not gonna read through those, everybody can. Okay, and then for the, discipline, we're looking for May, elementary, we had 6 after school, middle school, 4 after school detentions, in-school suspensions, none for elementary, 2 for middle school. Out of school, 10 for elementary, 1 for middle school, and then, no expulsions in May. And you know, you have to remember elementary is a larger population as well.
Larger.
So That's all of that, all I had.
Cause they stop. Yeah, we figured it out after lunch.
Then we're done. Is that the beach one?
Development, we did already did the Portage Farmers Market. It was not so great. I'm gonna give it another chance next week, but we'll see. Or 2 weeks. The signs we talked about.
You did talk the walk.
We did talk the walk, that was fun. Although it rained the next day and washed it all away. And then we have tours tomorrow.
The 49er ad.
Oh yeah, the 49er ad. Tiana saw it. Did anyone else go? I heard it's really good. And that's all we have going on right now with that. Finance, we kind of talked about.
Which
the
ones?
Policy, we just went through all of those. We'll determine what we're gonna work on. Actually, I don't think we'll meet in July because of the holiday and whatnot, so, to be determined. Jamie?
Really excited. We had a good meeting. Kind of decided to kind of just pull back, kind of work with just the board working on DEI because since we're the policy makers and everything, kind of getting our feet, making sure that we're all on the same page what DEI really stands for, what, you know, the whole intent behind it. And then our wonderful admin team, we're gonna kind of work with the teachers and how that's gonna look out and roll out to students and parents and staff like that, and how, it's just a work in progress. I think we're looking for some different resources. Some staff members did go to the DEI that the Urban League had put on over at Valpo. It's a possibility of getting them to come in and do some training. They did offer it. I did offer my assistant superintendent who's over DEI and instruction to help out with the board, just to make sure that we're, again, are all on the same page with that. We did come up with some working terms, and we're gonna meet again and kind of finalize those things, but really good stuff gonna come out of it. And just know that it's a integrative process, it's a culture process, and it's something that has to kind of be built in and kind of feathered out. It's not like, we don't want to be performative, right? We don't want to just do things, just have a checkbox and say that we are doing DEI, that it really is meaning something and follow along with our mission and our goal as discovery, so. That's what we, and another meeting coming up and go forward.
Advisory committee, I haven't met with Lori and Linda because it's summer and everybody's busy. In the Discover World 2024, I did meet with Journeyman. I sent you guys the information on it. I think I did, right?
I sent you toward it, I sent you that.
Well, I have it if you guys want to look at it. I do think that it would be really awesome to go with them. Their prices aren't crazy. It would be $2,000 to rent the room, which is what we paid last year, I think. And then they do have like an appetizer snack option like we did, so we would kind of pick a price. They do also have a dinner buffet option that would be $29 a person, which I don't think is crazy if we wanted to do that and increase our tickets a little bit. So there's definitely some like wiggle room that we can do. We'll go back to having a cash bar, which that last year was the first year we did it anyway. But the space is great. It'll be great for the silent auction. It'll be great for the entertainment. We won't have to hardly do any like decorating or anything. They're gonna open the fall of this year, and then they'll have like a little pizza area, but that won't be open, or else we could have done like a pizza buffet, but that won't be open until like the middle of next year. So yeah, she has to still send me a proposal. She was out last week, so she hasn't, but we might have to consider like booking it sooner than later, just because I think that they're gonna fill up and she thinks they're gonna fill up. So if everybody's okay with it, I would like to motion to approve that. It's as long as the proposal looks okay, that we go with it there.
The sponsorship.
Oh, yeah. We always need to sponsor that. every year. They usually did like a tasting and,
It was like a $250
Yeah.
event last year.
last couple of years they have. And I think people might be excited to see the space. and,
Yeah,
Like have the event there, so.
Absolutely. And food is really good too, and I think that, the heavy apps thing, it can really depend on where you go. I don't think the food was that great this year at County Line, but I think this would be much better.
What if it wasn't?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I'll
We
make a
have a
motion to
Yeah, I'll second.
approve that depending on, or pending the proposal.
You second, yeah, all in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? We can get to that, we're updating and all that
Do we need a test run? Don't we all have to?
stuff. So. The next board. Capital date.
Alright.
So, we have, work days coming up this summer, we have 3 of them, they're all gonna be very like outdoor heavy. June 24th is the next one coming up from 9 AM to 12 PM. Second one will be July 23rd, 10 AM to 1 PM, and then August 12th, 11 to 2. This is the last week to order, from the school supplies that are super easy. Buy them online, ship to the school, be here first day of school for your kiddos. So if you, parents or families want to get on that, this is the last week to do so. Andy for sustainability is wanting to, collect hangers. I think we need some downstairs in the basement, and also who knows what else she's doing with them. She just needs hangers. We did have an election last month to replace, the secretary and the treasurer positions. So Gabby Garcia, will now be our new secretary. She will swear them in next week at a meeting. And then Shannon Molden will now be our new treasurer. To touch on the Chromebooks, Shannon, our new treasurer, should have already met with Vicki, I believe, to kind of go over that transition. I believe that was the sticking point last time, was we just needed to make sure, what money goes where, because we still have musical funds all tied into kind of the same pot, with money sitting in PayPal. So I think Shannon and Vicki were gonna kind of meet to get everything together, so we should be able to successfully vote, on the Chromebooks at our meeting next week. So that will be coming this week, yes. Ending balance in the main PAC account, for May was $24,202.57. It does not include anything outstanding in our PayPal account or the script account. That's it.
That's Monday of next week, right?
Yes, Monday at 6:30, Joe? 6?
Yeah, 6.
6. Yeah.
Thank you. And then, next meeting, 7/19 is 5:30, good, or would you guys rather do 6:30?
I will be out of town that whole week.
So we'll say 5:30, Miranda's back with you.
Yes.
On the 19th, and then recognition, I wanna thank Ernesto for all that he's given to Discovery over the last 13 years. And setting up a strong foundation for us as we move on and you move on, and we wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
And then I wanted to also recognize Jen Frankowski for an awesome field day and her team. It was super fun, and she did a great job organizing it all. And I thought this was
Allison DeFrank.
Or was it
Allison
Frank?
DeFrank.
I was trying to process that for a minute, thinking.
Allison.
It wasn't good field day.
Thank
you, everybody
Thanks,
else.
It was amazing. Field day. Anyway. Right, adjourned at 7:44.
I was thinking about some.
So nice to meet you. Brandon.
I realized that.
This meeting is
Yeah, I was
Monday,
wondering.
this is Monday at 6.
Yes. We have it on the.
Can we talk sometime before you do?